All right. Good morning, everybody. There we go. Good morning, all you magnificent melon heads of the world. Happy Monday, everybody. Today is August 11th, 2025. You may notice we are not in the office this morning. I am on the road once again. You guys may recall my mini-me broke her arm earlier this summer. She missed out on a lot of things during our family vacation in June. So we're doing a little mini vacay today, getting the kids some time at the beach, all the things that she missed out on earlier this summer. So that's why we are with this totally genuine tropical paradise that you see behind me. Totally not studio effects there, right? Anyways, guys, the top story this morning is Nvidia and AMD. They have cut a deal with the United States government that will allow them to sell advanced chips for artificial intelligence into China for the low fee of 15% of revenue. So where do we begin with this story? You guys may recall these advanced AI chips, in particular the Nvidia chips, they were banned from selling them into the Chinese market because of national security reasons. Oh yeah, the Chinese are using AI for military applications. It's training their missiles and their drones, and right? Obviously, if they ever invade Taiwan, this technology would be used to kill American sailors and Marines if we got involved. Hopefully none of this ever happens, but let's not pretend like they're not marching in that direction right now. And so we said, no, national security reasons. You can't sell these chips to the Chinese. They're going to use it for the military. And now they're saying, well, if Nvidia gives us 15% of the revenue, we'll go ahead and we'll let you sell those advanced AI chips into the Chinese market. Something, by the way, they've been doing anyway. We have provided ample evidence on this channel showing pictures of guys holding up their Nvidia GPUs and people being arrested for smuggling these GPUs into China, right? They've been doing it. Nvidia has basically been turning a blind eye, playing dumb, pretending like it hasn't been happening. I don't know why when Jensen Huang puts on his stupid headset and his stupid black leather jacket and he gets up on stage to do a TED Talk, we treat this guy like he's the smartest man alive. But when it comes to compliance with export controls, we let him get away with playing dumb. I don't understand that, but hey, that's not for me to decide. Well, we decided yesterday that 14% of revenue, that's a national security risk, right? We can't let Nvidia sell these chips to the Chinese. It's a national security risk. At 14%, it's still a risk. At 14.5%, it's still a risk. But once you cross that 15% of revenue threshold, suddenly it's not a risk to national security anymore. Now, if you're sitting there saying, Jack, that doesn't make sense, I agree. I don't know what happens at 15% that suddenly it's no longer a national security risk. It just makes it legal for a fee, doesn't it? So look, the whole concept of we can't sell these chips for national security reasons has just been totally thrown out. They're making it seem like it was always a BS argument to begin with. Why at 15% is it suddenly not risky? I don't know. Legalized extortion, maybe. Pay to play, maybe. This opens you up to all kinds of criticism. It's stupid. It's going to blow up in our face, but there it is. It's in the news this morning. Bloomberg has it. CNBC has it. Everybody has it. Legal for a fee. Now, also going on this morning, there's a story flying underneath the radar. It is a very important story. There's this article in CNBC where Sam Altman is casually saying how the definition of AGI or artificial general intelligence, how it doesn't matter. It's not a super useful term, is what Sam Altman was talking about. Now, here's the thing: it matters, and it matters big. Hundreds of billions of dollars matters big. And Sam Altman's like, oh, yeah. It's not really that important. It's definitions. We're splitting hairs here. This is setting up for a big fight with Microsoft. They're not saying it in this article, but that's what's going on between the lines there. We'll talk about that one. We've got Orsted. That is the big Danish manufacturer of offshore wind turbines. They are raising $9.4 billion of cash after the subsidies in the United States dried up and they were forced to cancel a number of offshore wind projects, both in the U.S. and Europe, because of quality control issues. We got that one going on this morning. South China City, that's another Chinese developer. They have been ordered into liquidation by Hong Kong court. Oh, that's right. That big property collapse in Asia, that's still going on. It seems like every other day there's another story. It doesn't get front page news, but that collapse of the biggest property market in the world very much still a thing. Speaking of China, they have spiked the cost of lithium this morning after CATL shut down one of the biggest lithium mines in the world at the behest of the Chinese government. So we've got lithium stocks are on a tear this morning. Paramount is spending $7.7 billion for streaming rights for UFC. Gold tariffs apparently are not a thing. We talked all about gold tariffs on Friday, about the big blowout in EFP premiums as gold in New York next month was becoming more expensive than gold in London today. Oh yeah, all that's gone. Now they like just a big misunderstanding. Friday afternoon, the Trump administration said they were going to be issuing an executive order to clarify misinformation on gold tariffs. Well, we still haven't gotten that executive order, but the price of gold is crashing this morning. Silver is down along with it. Bitcoin is doing very well, though. Bitcoin went as high as 122,000 overnight. It's now giving up some of those gains off of no real news on Bitcoin specifically. And last but not least, tourism in Las Vegas is in big trouble. There's been a lot of articles recently about the decline of Vegas tourism and what that could mean for the economy. We got a lot to talk about this morning. How about we shrink my big million of a head and let's see what is going on in the world of finance. Hey, don't forget that like button and that subscribe button for the YouTube algorithm so you could come back and have your coffee with the melon heads because we do this one every single day. And you may notice on the screen in front of you, look at that big 37. Yes, the national debt, $37 trillion. Didn't this thing just cross 30 trillion like last week? Didn't it just cross 20 trillion like a week before that? OMG, WTF are we doing? You know what? Let's just go ahead and keep doing nothing. Let's just go ahead and keep ignoring this problem. Let's wait until it gets to 40, nay, 50 trillion. And then we can have a serious talk about cutting spending. In the meantime, let's just keep this Keynesian pipe dream alive, shall we? $37.2 trillion and climbing. Gotta love the finances of the United States. But for right now, we have got the S&P 500 is up 3 points this morning, 0.05%. As always, in lieu of absolute catastrophe, number go up. We have got the Dow is also higher by 62 points or 0.14% to the upside this morning. And the NASDAQ is just modestly red here, 2.8 points or 0.01% in the red. But stocks are mostly still up this morning. I'm looking at the DXY. We've got a modestly stronger dollar this morning, 98.49. That's higher by about 31 basis points. That's going to put a little bit of downward pressure on asset prices this morning. Looking over at the bond market, we've got the 30-year treasuries at 4.830. That's down about 2.5 basis points. The 10 years at 4.264. That's down by almost 2 points. The 2 years at 3.760, up by a fraction of 1 point, and the 1 month is down a fraction of a point at 4.359. The bond market remains pretty quiet this morning, even despite all this tariff news once again. And looking at commodities, we got a lot of red this morning. We've got spot gold, $3,355. That's down by 43 bucks, or about 1.25% lower for spot gold. But check out that front month gold futures contract, the December gold futures. $3,411. Those are down by almost 80 bucks or about 2.3%. Again, this is on the what would you even call this? The whiplash of on again, off again, then on again, then off again gold tariffs. We're seeing that December future fall faster than that London spot price as the market readjusts once again to a totally different tariff narrative. Same thing's going on in silver. We've got spot silver 37.81. That's down by 53 cents or 1.4%. Meanwhile, the September front month silver contract is at 37.88. That's down even more, 66 cents lower or 1.7%. But I still like the shiny, even though it's a rough morning for metals here. Copper is down about 0.7% as well. Platinum is down 1.6%. Palladium is down 0.84%. And oil is positive by about 12 cents here, $64 even for September WTI futures. That's higher by about 0.2% this morning. And again, just to clarify here, the White House will clarify gold tariffs after the ruling sparked chaos. This one broke late in the day Friday, and we're seeing the movement in the gold price this morning. The Trump administration suggested it would issue a new policy clarifying that imports of gold bars should not face tariffs after a U.S. government agency stunned traders by formally ruling that they'd be subject to duties. The administration intends to post an executive order in the near future to clarify what it called misinformation about the tariffing of gold and other specialty products. A White House official told Bloomberg in a written statement. The official detailed the plans Friday on condition of anonymity. So look, guys, are there tariffs on gold? I don't know. Nobody knows. The market was treating it like there are on Friday because of this ruling by the Customs and Border Patrol. Now we've got an anonymous White House staffer is saying, no, there are not tariffs on gold. You can't quote me, though. You can't use my name. There's probably going to be an executive order in the near future. I'm not going to tell you when that is. And until then, I guess we can all just keep guessing about what the tariffs on gold are going to be. I swear this is like asking Gigi what she wants for dinner. Hey, President Trump, what are the tariffs on gold going to be? I don't know. What do you want? That's pretty much how we're doing policy right now. But in the meantime, chaos in gold markets. Meanwhile, Bitcoin had one hell of a Sunday night, and now it's just giving it all back. As we currently stand, $119,449 is priced on Coinbase. That's as of 9:15 a.m. Eastern time. But let's set this to 1 minute candles, and you can kind of get an idea of what Bitcoin did overnight. Look, Bitcoin had a great Sunday. We started, let's zoom all the way out here, go back to, beginning of the day yesterday. We started around 116,000. We had a nice big jump up to around 118,000. Then late in the day yesterday, we started running. We saw 119, and then we shot up in the blink of an eye to 121, went as high as $122,300. And then right around 3 a.m. Eastern time this morning, Bitcoin just started bleeding all those gains off, giving back about half of them now, back under 120,000. So, look, Bitcoin remains volatile. I own Bitcoin. I'm not trading it. I was looking. There was no real big Bitcoin news. There's no whales that are dumping, or at least no articles about it. There's no big, like, Bitcoin treasury company news or anything. It was just a late Sunday rally and then an early Monday morning sell-off. But here's the big one. Nvidia and AMD to pay 15% on China AI chip sales in a U.S. deal. This story broke late yesterday. Nvidia and AMD agreed to pay 15% of their revenues from Chinese AI chip sales to the U.S. government in a deal to secure export licenses, an unusual arrangement that may unnerve both U.S. companies and Beijing. Nvidia plans to share 15% of the revenue from sales of its H20 AI accelerator in China, according to a person familiar with the matter. Well, isn't that just nice of them? Look at them all sharing so lovely. Oh, you children are getting along so well. AMD will deliver the same share to from MI308 revenues, the person added, asking for anonymity to discuss internal deliberations. So is this extortion by the government? Well, no, they're sharing. They're just export license fees. That's all. Even though it's 15% of revenue. 15% of revenue based on the kind of numbers Nvidia has been putting up in China, or at least to Singapore, claiming it's not to China. This is going to be somewhere around $1 billion a month they're paying to the government. The arrangement reflects U.S. President Trump's consistent effort to engineer a financial payout for America in return for concessions on trade. His administration has shown a willingness to relax trade conditions like tariffs in return for giant investment in the U.S., as with Apple's pledge to spend $600 billion, which they're never going to spend, on domestic manufacturing, along with a big brick of gold and a piece of glass attached to it. It's totally not a bribe to the president. But such a narrow select export tax has little precedent in modern corporate history. This seeming quid pro quo is unprecedented from an export control perspective. The arrangement risks invalidating the national security rationale for U.S. export controls, said Jacob Feldgois, a researcher at the DC-based Center for Security and Emerging Technology. And look, he's exactly right here. Like, why does 15% of revenue suddenly make the national security risk go away? Are you going to buy national security with that 15% of revenue? Is that what it costs? Only $1 billion a month? It doesn't make a lot of sense, but either way, guys, this is supposedly a boost for Nvidia. Although Nvidia stock not really reacting, shares down about 0.5% ahead of the opening bell, $181.60, off by $1.13. Let's see. Here's another one to keep an eye on, guys. A pause on higher tariffs for China is due to expire on Tuesday. Hey, that's tomorrow. Here's what we need to know. A 90-day pause on imposing higher tariffs on China is due to expire on Tuesday, and it's unclear if it will be extended. After the most recent round of China-U.S. talks held late last month in Stockholm, Chinese and U.S. officials said they expected the deadline to be extended for another 90 days. The U.S. side said the decision was up to President Trump, who you may have noticed is prone to changing his mind. So far, there has been no formal announcement about whether he will endorse an extension or push ahead with the higher tariffs. I suspect this Nvidia story is probably getting us closer to that 90-day extension. The uncertainty has left business in limbo, and the decision to raise the import duties could jolt world markets, as they did in April. Trump has repeatedly shifted deadlines and tariff rates, and neither side has indicated what it plans for Tuesday. Extending the August 12th deadline for reaching a trade agreement with China would forestall earlier threats of tariffs up to 245%. Have fun with that. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Trump was deciding about another 90-day delay, and it would allow time to work out details of an agreement setting tariffs on most products at 50%, including extra import duties related to illicit trade in the powerful opioid fentanyl. We still don't know if that trade deal is going to be extended. It probably will be extended by another 90 days. We just haven't heard yet, and the deadline is tomorrow. So, hey, take the rest of the day off. I guess you've got time. Why give people advance notice when you can just wait until the buzzer gets down to 10 seconds and then delay by another 90 days? All right, this is a big story worth keeping an eye on, guys. And I'll get to the why in a minute. First, here is Sam Altman just casually acting like this isn't even a thing. Sam Altman now says AGI, or human level AI, is not a super useful term, and he's not alone. It is a super useful term, especially when hundreds of billions of dollars rides on it. But right now, Sam Altman's casually like, oh, it doesn't really matter. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said artificial general intelligence, or AGI, is losing its relevance as a term as rapid advances in the space make it harder to define the concept. AGI refers to the concept of a form of AI that can perform any intellectual task that a human can. For years, OpenAI has been working to research and develop AGI that is safe and benefits all humanity. I think it's not a super useful term, Altman told CNBC Squawk Box last week when asked whether the company's latest GPT-5 model moves the world any closer to achieving AGI. It doesn't. The AI entrepreneur has previously said he thinks AGI could be developed in the reasonably close-ish future. Nice non-committal phrasing there. The problem with AGI, Altman said, is that there are multiple definitions being used by different companies and individuals. One definition is an AI that can do a significant amount of the work in the world, according to Altman. However, that has its issues because the nature of work is constantly changing. I think the point of all of this is it doesn't really matter. And it's just a continuing exponential of model capability that we'll rely on for more and more things. So Sam Altman is like, yeah, AGI, it doesn't really matter. Well, let me tell you why it does matter and why this is actually a huge story that is being buried in the headlines. And for that, we go back to this article in July in Wired. Microsoft and OpenAI's AGI fight is bigger than a contract. A key clause in Microsoft and OpenAI's deal embodies the raging divide between AGI true believers and those who think it's still a long way off. The contract basically declared, this is the contract between Microsoft and OpenAI. The contract basically declared that if OpenAI's models achieved artificial general intelligence, that Microsoft would no longer have access to OpenAI's new models. The terms of the contract, which otherwise would have extended until 2030, would be void. Though I wrote about it in my story, the clause has never really been a state secret. It didn't generate much discussion. That's no longer the case. The clause has been at the center of an increasingly frayed relationship between Microsoft and OpenAI, and it's under renegotiation. It's been the subject of investigative stories by The Information, The Wall Street Journal, The Financial Times, and yes, Wired. So in that article in CNBC, Sam Altman's like, oh, it doesn't matter if OpenAI, what the definition is. I don't really care. It's not a big deal. It's a huge deal because the second AGI, whatever that milestone means, the second they hit it, Microsoft is no longer allowed unlimited access to OpenAI's intellectual property. You think maybe that might be worth a little bit of money right now? What did Microsoft pay? Like $19 billion or some $9 billion, whatever the number was, for their stake in OpenAI. And basically, that whole contract is void the moment AGI is achieved. And so, yeah, hundreds of billions of dollars is riding on this. And Sam Altman's like, you know what? It's not a super useful term. That either means he can't hit it and he's trying to renege on that clause in the contract. He's going to try to negotiate it away. Or I don't know. Or I don't know what else. All I know is this fight between Microsoft and OpenAI, it's been brewing for a while. And the fact that Sam is out here trying to dismiss this vitally important definition tells me he is fixing to screw over Microsoft in a big way. Now, also keep in mind, Microsoft is the biggest hurdle to OpenAI becoming a for-profit company. OpenAI is a charity. Hilarious, I know. But OpenAI is a nonprofit right now. And in order for them to become a for-profit company, Microsoft has to sign off on it. And so far, Microsoft has not agreed to that. And there's tens of billions of dollars in funding from SoftBank that is dependent on them becoming a for-profit company. So this fight between Microsoft and OpenAI, it's been setting up for a couple of months now. And I think this contract clause is going to be a big source of consternation between Satya and Sam in the not too distant future. All right. Meanwhile, we got more green energy news. More money went up in smoke without subsidies. Go figure. This business cannot stand on its own without the government just giving them away money. Orsted plunges after a plan for $9 billion rights offer. Orsted shares dropped a record 29% following its plan to raise as much as 60 billion Danish kroner, that's about $9.4 billion US, in a rights offering. It's the latest low point for a company that was once a green industry touchstone. The share offering would be the biggest in the European energy sector since Enel in 2009 and has sent shares below the price of its IPO in 2016. It confirms a Bloomberg News report on Friday. The capital raise is an attempt by CEO Rasmus Erbo to steady Orsted's finances after the U.S. President Donald Trump's policies to limit offshore wind stifled the company's ability to sell stakes in projects it's already building. In the first days of his presidency, Trump halted permitting for new projects, and his flagship tax and spending bill rolled back tax credits that were a boon for the industry. And now, without those tax credits, well, Orsted just can't get those projects done. And so they're having to raise capital to stay alive, $9 billion. And the stock is crashing because of it. By the way, guys, we got a truck just outside the window here. I don't know if you can hear that, but the show must go on. So let's talk about lithium, shall we? Lithium market soars as CATL shuts one of the world's top mines. This one just this morning. In Bloomberg, lithium prices and stocks spiked on Monday after battery giant Contemporary Amprex Technology halted operations at a major mine in China, spurring speculation that Beijing might move to suspend other projects as it tackles overcapacity across the economy. That's pretty important, guys. Overcapacity across the economy. That's going to be a bigger and bigger theme for the Chinese in the years ahead, especially if this trade war results in a significant amount of U.S. exports going away. Then overcapacity is going to be a bigger and bigger issue in many different sectors in China, not just their lithium mines, not just their electric vehicles, not just their housing, everything. Tianqi Lithium Corp jumped as much as 19% in Hong Kong, while Ganfeng Lithium Corp surged 21%, and Australian miners rallied after CATL confirmed that it had shut down a mine in Jiangxi province. We're really stressing Jack's Chinese pronunciation this morning. Prices of the battery metal on the Guangzhou Futures Exchange hit the daily limit and held firm throughout the day. In North America, shares of U.S. producers Albemarle Corp and Piedmont Lithium surged above 10% in pre-market trading in New York. Lithium Americas Corp and Chilean producer SQM rose around 9% in early trading. The fate of the CATL mine, the biggest in China's lithium hub of Yichun, had been under close scrutiny for weeks amid speculation that authorities would extend its license. The mine accounts for some 6% of global output, according to Bank of America, while other mines in the region account for at least another 5%. So shutting down the mine, spike in lithium prices. Lithium stocks are doing pretty well. Congratulations. I know we got a couple of melon heads here who are big-time lithium bulls. They are doing pretty good this morning. Meanwhile, we've got another builder in China has been ordered to liquidate. Builder South China City ordered to liquidate by Hong Kong court. Excuse me, that big Chinese real estate collapse still happening, even though it's kind of fallen from the headlines. Developer China South City Holdings was ordered to liquidate by Hong Kong's High Court, making it the biggest Chinese builder by assets to be wound up since China Evergrande Group. The ruling from Judge Linda Chan came after the liquidation petitioner asked for an immediate wind-up order. China South City asked the court for one final chance. Pretty please, give me another chance. I can turn this company around. But Chan said that no significant progress had been made on the company's restructuring proposal. The liquidation order shows how China's years-long property crisis continues to shake up one-time giants of the real estate industry. Despite government efforts to prop up the ailing sector, home sales are still weak, making any near-term recovery unlikely. Even UBS Group, which had been among the few firms predicting a recovery, is now expecting a delay unless Beijing introduces additional stimulus measures. South China City's ownership structure is similar to that of China Vanke, a major Chinese developer which received state support back in January, led by local authorities in the company's hometown of Shenzhen. China South City had total liabilities of about $60.9 billion, Hong Kong, that is. According to its annual report, cash and bank balances stood at $717.7 million. These guys are hopelessly insolvent. The winding up petition against South China City was filed by Citicorp International, which is the trustee of the developer's dollar bonds. Citicorp filed a separate lawsuit late last year against Shenzhen SEC. China's South City shares were suspended from trading on Monday in Hong Kong. So now we'll get a little bit of price discovery. They're going to sell off all the buildings and all the equipment, raise as much money they can, and then the people they owe money to will be forced to fight over the scraps. We're going to get more and more of this. The Hong Kong courts, the Chinese courts, they're dragging their feet, trying to make this happen slowly over time. It's been years, and the home sales, the market just keeps heading south. No end in sight to that story. Meanwhile, we got Paramount buys UFC rights for $7.7 billion to boost streaming. A big deal for Dana White and co. at UFC. Paramount has acquired the exclusive rights to show all events from the Ultimate Fighting Championship in the U.S. over the next 7 years. The company's announced Monday a $7.7 billion deal designed to boost the Paramount Plus streaming service. Paramount will offer the UFC 13 marquee events and 30 additional fight nights on its streaming service, while also showing select events on the CBS broadcast network starting next year. UFC's marquee events are typically numbered and feature the title matches with top fighters, while fight nights usually involve up-and-comers and less prominent matchups. Paramount said it's paying on average $1.1 billion a year and will explore buying international rights in the future as they become available. Hey, does anybody remember boxing? Is that even a thing anymore? UFC has just totally taken the market away from boxing. $7.7 billion just for the domestic streaming rights. Big deal with Paramount this morning. And the last one of the day, Las Vegas sees a drop in tourism, hinting at broader economic woes facing the U.S. Guys, there have been a lot of stories like this in the last couple of days. There's a lot of scary stats coming out of Las Vegas. I don't know which ones are the most accurate or convey the most reality, but I can tell you that that city is in trouble. After years of booming tourism in Las Vegas, the hot streak looks to be cooling off, and it may be a tell for the broader economy. For the 6th consecutive month this year, Las Vegas experienced a decline in the number of visitors year over year, with June seeing nearly 400,000 fewer visitors, or about an 11.3% drop compared to the same time last year, according to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. Summer is typically a slower season for Las Vegas given its heat, and June was a quieter convention month than last year, according to experts on Las Vegas tourism. In its June report, the LVCVA said the dip in tourism reflected a broader backdrop of consistent economic uncertainty and weaker consumer confidence. What happens in Las Vegas matters on a national scale because it often reflects larger trends, according to Andrew Woods, the director of the Center for Business and Economic Research at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. It tends to be a signal for potentially where the economy is headed. And if that signal is to be believed, the economy is not headed in a good direction. And I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. KDM. Thank you for being a melonhead for 11 months. Thank you, sir, so much for supporting the channel. He says Nvidia and AMD are paying settlement as they go. Look, I don't know if you can call this a settlement. I mean, they're calling them license fees. So that's if they're challenging this in court, which I'm sure somebody's going to challenge this in the court. They're saying, no, it's not extortion. No, it's not a shakedown. No, it's not legal for a fee. It's just licensing fees, export fees. That's all it is, even though it's like a freaking $1 billion a year. And it only applies to Nvidia and AMD. Well, what about all the other companies that make chips and sell them to China? Are they included? And by the way, why were these companies exempted from tariffs again? Because they're investing in the U.S. Is Nvidia building factories in the U.S.? Does anybody know? Has anybody heard a story about Nvidia building a factory anywhere in the lower 48, Alaska, Hawaii, freaking anywhere? Heck, I'll settle for something in Guam, even though that one senator thinks the island is going to tip over if we build anything on it. What is Nvidia investing in the United States besides nothing? Why is this company getting such preferential treatment? I will tell you why. Because the Donald wants his stock bubble to stay inflated. That's why this is happening. We cannot do anything that's going to pop this bubble. We can't prosecute them for the grotesque export control violations, tens of billions of dollars worth of chips sold illegally into that country by way of Singapore and Malaysia while playing dumb. Oh, well, if we prosecute them, well, then, hey, that might pop the stock bubble and we can't let that happen. So, no, let's just extract $1 billion a month from them in exchange for export fees, and then we'll let them sell everything we can to China, thus proving we were full of shit all along when we said it was a national security risk, because national security risks don't disappear because of 15% of revenue. Doesn't work that way. That is not how national security works. It's just gross. It's just the corruption is now so obvious. It's like stamped on their foreheads. They're not even pretending anymore. It's the golden age of grift, guys. What can I say? Thank you very much, KDM, for supporting the channel, sir. Hey, Chris Bott, thank you, sir, for supporting the channel. Appreciate the generosity. He says, ice cream money for me and the mini-me. I'm not trying to make her a diabetic. Ice cream is good. You know what? My mini-me, she loves that ice cream, too. So thank you so much, Chris Bott, for the good vibes and the well wishes for the mini-me. She will enjoy it. The ice cream man will be coming to the beach later today. Appreciate that, sir. Hey, Robert Feeds the Machine. Thank you for supporting the channel. He says, as a CS grad, that Altman story is hilarious. AGI has been debated, defined, and redefined since the 1950s. It's a moving goalpost, and they want to peer pressure a judge into defining it. Yeah, that I do find that hilarious, Robert. Here's the other thing I find hilarious. All right, they put this into a $9 billion contract. Don't quote me on the number, guys. I think Microsoft's stake in OpenAI was somewhere around $9 billion. But let's just use that number for the sake of argument. You got a $9 billion contract that is voided the moment AGI is achieved, and you don't define what AGI means in the contract? How do lawyers not spot this ahead of time? How do you not clarify in explicit detail what AGI means? And if they did, then what are they? Sam Altman just being the little freaking weasel that he is, trying to get out of a contract that he agreed to? Probably. But this is rather hilarious, and it does show that Sam is fixing to screw over Satya. And I don't know where this is going to go, but this is going to end up in court, I think, sooner or later, unless the bubble just pops and Microsoft's like, it doesn't matter. OpenAI is going out of business anyway. We don't care. Which very much could happen. OpenAI loses money like it's going out of style. So, yeah, I agree. It is pretty funny, and I guess they're just going to have some judge define it, and then hundreds of billions of dollars will be determined by there. I agree. Thank you, Robert, for supporting the channel, and thank you, Lisa B, for supporting the channel. Says merch, please. Golden Age of Grift. Is that another T-shirt idea? Well, we do need to find another merch provider, guys. It's on my list. Trust me, we are going to get the merch. That dirtbaggery T-shirt that I owe M and J, and of course the tinfoil hats. We will get the merch up and running sooner or later, and that is a very good idea, Lisa. Thank you so much for supporting the channel as a Melonhead member for 18 months running. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Lisa. Thank you guys all for having your coffee with the Melonheads. I don't have my soundboard on the road with me, so we got no outro music. We'll just have to hum along in our heads as we say thank you. I appreciate all the super chats, guys, in my disappearing Murica mug this morning with StreamYard and their green screen. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you as well to my magnanimous Melonheads on YouTube and Patreon. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Links down below should you feel so inclined. Don't forget that like button and that subscribe button on the way out. We'll be back in the studio tomorrow, regular time. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I love you guys. Everybody, till next time, live small and dream big.